Ronen, Ronen, all the way from America, the big US of A. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know Ronen Shetelboim, who's the Senior VP Marketing at Cycode. And we've been talking lately about what's changing and what we're seeing is happening currently with marketing budget, especially as we head towards 2025. And I'm ecstatic that you are really here with me to discuss it. So hi, Ronen.
Hi, thank you, Billy. I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so something that we've been witnessing, I was recently at an event that Ronen hosted about content and creatives, and it really resonates with what I'm seeing happening in the market and what I know that you've been seeing happening, up front closely, is really sort of like, I wouldn't call it the demise of demand gen, absolutely not, but it's the fact that, content and creative is really sort of like moving into being the centerpiece of marketing. Biasly, as it should. But what are you seeing? I mean, like, what's going on over there, especially as marketers are preparing their 2025 budgets? I mean, like, what should they be factoring in with these changes?
So a couple of things happening. I think with the rise of AI and the rise in content, the things that the market is so flooded with material that it's almost becoming like cynical to what people put out there, and you don't know anymore what's being actually has research behind it, what is an authentic content versus like what is generated by AI. So what we've seen is that the techniques that used to work for dimension by itself don't work anymore. The market is so flooded with content and information, and marketing team needs to work together in more smarter way.
So basically, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying it all along when I speak to whoever will listen to me. It's like if at the beginning of COVID, having an ebook and 2 ads saying "talk to us" would really get demo requests. It would they would literally not by ones or twos, like with double digits, triple digits, depending on what your budget was. That's long gone, right? That's long gone. And what you're saying, basically, what we're seeing is that the content is becoming more of the focal point, but also the storytelling part of the content is becoming the focal point.
Exactly. So it's more important than ever today for marketing teams, dimension teams, PMM teams, and content teams to work together, because dimension by itself, like you said before COVID, all this conversion that we saw, all this pipeline created from dimension by isolation just doesn't work anymore. So actually, we see a trend of the budget shifting towards more focus on messaging, more focus on creative, more focus on brand. Now, it's important to say that that's not going to work in isolation. So it's not like Dimension is losing its power. I think they're changing their focus. So now more than ever, it was always a problem for marketing to get PMM and Dimension and content work closely together. Because if you double click on Dimension, there are so many sub expertise, right? You have people that manage the LinkedIn ads, the Facebook ads, the Instagram ads, the retargeting.
Right.
And there's just gaps. Like there is gaps between what's happening in the brand and the content, and it's okay because it worked in the past. You can optimize the landing page, you can optimize the ad in isolation, and it will work. It doesn't work anymore. So it's really important now more than ever to create a really good content, understanding the market, understanding the buyers, focusing on creative, but then using the power of Dimension together to amplify the message, to find the right channels, to do the optimizations. But if in the past we were doing okay, working in isolation within marketing,
Right.
it's not gonna fly anymore. Yeah.
So you can't skip the messaging phase. You can't say that the brand the way it is going to be okay, because hey, you're in cybersecurity. So depending on how you count or who you listen to, you've got anywhere between 3,000 and 3,500 companies competing for your line item on the budget, right? So you
Yeah.
can't be kind of okay and expect to really hit your targets, because you need to be seen and heard, right? So basically, companies that were trying to skip over and say our bland messaging or now our GPT generated messaging
Exactly.
is going to be fine, they're not going to cut it, right? Your competitors are going to eat you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
Exactly.
it's kind of like it's my wish come true, basically. I must be honest, because I've been sort of like obviously singing and praying and about this for who for years, for whoever's willing to listen to me. But basically you're saying you can't skip over this phase, right? And only once you've got that, not even nailed, but you're ready to test your messaging and your branding, then you can actually go out to the market, right?
Yep.
So basically
Completely.
anybody who's planning their budget needs to be planning, their budget for the messaging, content creation, etc. And only then should they be thinking, okay, now that I have this content, how am I going to distribute it, beyond the organic, but how am I going to distribute it paid, to the target audiences that I need?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think there's rumbling around, okay, if demand gen doesn't work and I need to focus more in brand, then let's forget about demand gen and just focus on brand and content. But I think it's important to understand, and this is like an epiphany that I see also in the market, is that demand gen is important, but the collaboration together is crucial. So that's one. I think on your point of AI generated content, sometimes we take our competitors' content and you can put it back to Gemini or ChatGPT and you can ask them like what was written by human versus what's written by AI. And it's amazing
Right.
how 99% is written by AI, which means that there is no creativity, there is no differentiation, there is no technicity. So it's really, really important to be there and focus on that. ChatGPT and all that is great. I think people are double clicking too much on like this is a content creation, technology, and actually it's not. You can do way more powerful thing. And if you're just stuck with like loop of using ChatGPT for content creation, your creative is probably not doing so well.
Yeah. But it's really interesting because it basically means, and you spoke about it earlier, that if in the past, 12 months ago, the person, the head of demand gen in the company was considered sort of like king of the castle. He or she would have the biggest budget, they'd have the biggest headcount, they would have sort of like the last word on most things that would go on in marketing. We're actually seeing a shift here to actually the people who are in charge of creative and messaging and content are actually sort of like taking, the podium, so to speak, and they're taking the budget and they're becoming, the heads of large teams. And because companies are realizing that, hey, this is the foundation work that you can't actually build a house without it. Yeah. Now you've done some amazing things on the content side, Cycode, and it's something that I hadn't really taken into consideration. So like having sub brands of content. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Exactly. So first of all, on the conversation with the boards about KPI and things like that, and because there is board or investors or even exec, because there is a gap in education. So in addition to internal education, you need to get permission to do things. And in order to get permission to do things, I think you need to show like the bottom line is working. So by bottom line, I mean how much money you spend on marketing, what's the ROI on the other side? Can you really attribute that to deal's contribution and is the sales leader on board? If you get that, you get permission, right? To keep doing stuff and keep optimizing. So that's like the first thing I would say. And I would get questions like that in the board, like, hey, for every dollar you spend, how much you return, and like, are we efficient enough? After you do that, we got the permission. This theory around brand and creative and that we need demand gen, we explained that. We got kind of a thumbs up and we start experimenting. What's fascinating is that when we looked at campaigns or content that we launched in isolation, we didn't see the conversion, but we saw, to your point, the other leading indicators. Every time we launch something, website to the traffic goes up, demo goes
Right.
up, pipeline goes up, and da, 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 da.
Yep.
So then we realized, okay, what's our goal? And our goal was to lead a specific category that we are playing in. And that was a new category. And we figured we want to educate people we think that we believe they're going to search. So they might search for a podcast on the topic. They might search for a book about the topic. They might search about other ways to learn. So we created kind of sub-brands tied to Cycode and tied to that specific category. So people can find us wherever they are in their journey. And then every time we created a kind of a sub-brand like that under Cycode, we did a launch plan. We did an amplification, and we would like we do it like a rolling thunder every few weeks, every few months. And then we would see that every time we do that, all the metrics are going up. Like I talked about the website and the
Yep.
demo and pipeline.
Yep.
And that's got me to the realization of the correlation between multiple multiple campaigns, multiple activities, multiple offers constantly drum the beat drum, constantly the rolling thunder, and the implication of that on pipeline and close won. And that's been working really well for us. Yeah.
So each sub brand of yours is basically for a different target audience, or how is it split?
It's for the same audience, but it's different stages of the cycle of where they are educated.
Okay.
So I don't like to say bofu mofu that, because I think it's
Yeah.
been spoken about too much. But I've heard this presentation 15 years ago, and I think it works. And it's like the yes, yes, no, yes, no, no. I was just talking about this with someone. And the idea is that yes, yes means it's the stage where people know about you, they know about the problem, they know about your competitors, and they're looking for a specific offering or content or research or podcast or show or
Okay.
experience that's tied to it. Yes, no will be, they might know something about the industry or the problem, but they don't know about you. And the no, no will be they don't know anything. So we're trying to create offering or experiences for every stage. And yeah.
So I think that it's amazing. It's a huge investment, though. I mean, like, how many people are you investing in this in order to create it? And can you give us some numbers as to like what it takes to sustain this thing?
So I think we are being very scrappy and very efficient. We are working with a lot of external vendors, and we are less than 10 people on the marketing side. So it's not like we have a huge team. I
Right.
think we are being smart with reallocation of budgets from, let's say, big ticket items events or big ticket item table stakes dimension, because we tested, it didn't work. So now we repurpose this budget to support us in the kind of creative campaigns, but we still keep, budget and dimension for the amplification.
Right.
We also build a network of friendlies of practitioners, and we're working together with them to like amplify some of our message. Yeah.
It's very impressive, and we are showing it. But I think that importantly, I think people underestimate, and we see this a lot of times. Like, we want to start with lead gen campaigns, and we're like, okay, you've got a 5-page website. We're going to bring you relevant people to your website, and they're going to go to your website, and they're going to see 5 blogs, and they're going to see sort of like a very even lighter resources section. Like, hold your horses. This is exactly what we were speaking about earlier. Build up your content so that when we do start to sort of like bring people to your website, they have a reason to stick around, because otherwise they're checking in, they're saying, okay, this is a startup, not really, sure, I want to invest my time and money in a startup right now. I'll come back in 12 months time and see what they're up to. And in 12 months time, you will have more content, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't short circuit that. So I think it's really smart what you're doing, is that you're even if people aren't reading your content religiously every week or every time it's published, I think when your target audience or your ICP is coming to your website, they're looking around, they're like, yep, these folks understand what they're talking about, I trust them, I want to go ahead and talk to them some more.
Yes, exactly. I think something for maybe the audience that listen to it and say like, okay, now I need to go again back to the basement and create a lot of content, a lot of campaigns. And I think I just want to say that it's more about the quality. So invest in like one piece of content, and the content can be whatever, the podcast, the campaign, the event, the ebook. Make it good. Don't fall into
Everybody
like, okay, I'm gonna
starts
create.
somewhere as well. Everybody is starting
Exactly.
somewhere. What we're saying is, don't throw your money on channels before like you've
Exactly.
built up a reason for people to stick around and learn about you more.
Exactly. And have a point of view. Stop sounding like everyone else, because then you are
Right.
not adding any value.
Right.
And show real life experience for whatever industry you are. Like, don't sit, on the one side of the fence and, throw a bunch of words together, assuming you understand the problem on the other side. Try to really go deep. We talked earlier about meeting the people, understanding the problems. I know it's cliche because it's been written in
Yep.
all the books from many, many years, but people don't
It
do that
works.
enough. Yeah. So,
Ronen, thank you for joining me.
yeah, thank you for having me.